You're welcome to scoot up a little bit if you want to see a little bit better, or if you're sitting at a table that you're the only one that got a number 7. And then you can... Awesome. My name is Steve Schmidt. I'm with the Missoula Forum for Children and Youth. Welcome to Forum Connections. I'm going to just share a little bit about the forum here real quick. We are a city-county organization. We are primarily a substance abuse prevention organization. That is our main goal. We have 3 different subgroups of the forum. One being Best Beginnings, which Anna, I don't know where she might be out and about there. She runs our Best Beginnings, which is early childhood development, 0 to 8. They got a lot of exciting things going on, a lot of funding that's been spread throughout our community through the Best Beginnings group. She's also in charge of our Youth Development Network, which is our, there's Anna right there. Hi, Anna. They're starting a youth council right now. Applications have been spread around different high schools in our area, and we're actively seeking youth to join our youth council. So a lot of exciting things. And then Brandy, who's not here today, she runs our MUSAP, which is Missoula Underage Substance Abuse Prevention Group. She's at home with a sick child this morning, so she's not here. Right now, we're in the middle of a campaign. This campaign is all about substance abuse prevention. So you may see ads like this around town. We also have a couple TV commercials. Feel free to visit our website, missoulaforum.org, or our sister website, which is choicesmattermissoula.com. We also have some TV commercials and some radio ads out and about all through the month of September. So be on the lookout for that. I'm going to promote one thing here real quick. On September 27th, from 10 to 2 at Southgate Mall, we have a prescription drug take-back event that's going on, sponsored by the police department and a bunch of other people. If you can't make that event and you do have unused prescription drugs that you need to get rid of, there's a drop box here at the police department. It's just inside this back door at 435 Ryman. You can always take your prescription drugs there. We're just trying to get the word out about this event and trying to get everybody there. Before you go today, we also have a quick evaluation. What I'll do is I'll hand these out as people are speaking here or during the networking part. If you wouldn't mind help filling this out, it helps encourage us, gives us feedback, and helps make these events better for you. I'd also like to mention that MCAT is recording this today, and you can get more information by either visiting mcat.org. Is that the correct website? mcat.org. This is all part of their media assistance grant program for nonprofit organizations. So they're absolutely wonderful. Our last event was also recorded. We'll get that DVD and the video up on YouTube shortly, and I'll send everybody out the information about that. And then I'll do the same thing with this one, and we'll get it out to everybody, if that makes sense. Awesome. All right, so I have a question for all of you. I was listening to one of my favorite morning shows on the radio, Elvis Duran. Anybody listen to Elvis Duran? It's pretty crazy, right? It's way out there. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, so I was listening to this radio show the other day, and they were interviewing Alicia Keys. How many people know who Alicia Keys is? A singer? Okay, I don't have a clue what she sings. But apparently, every year, in honor of September 11th, they have a moment of silence on the Elvis Duran show. And they had Alicia Keys on this. Did my microphone? Okay, there it is. It's coming in and out. Is it coming in and out? Is it better without the microphone? Yeah. Let's do that. So they were interviewing Alicia Keys for the radio show because after this moment of silence, they played one of her songs this year, and it was called Why We Are Here. And she said the inspiration for that song was somebody asked her one time at an event or a party or whatever. They went up to her and they said, "Hey, Alicia, why are you here?" And she goes, "Well, somebody invited me." And they go, "No, that's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you why you are here." So I want to pose the same question to all of you. Why are you here? Why are you here today? And I'm not looking for a job. I'm not looking for education. I'm not looking to network with people. I want you to ask yourselves why you are here. What is it that drives you? What is it that makes you do the work that you do? Whether it's the kids that your organization serves, whether it's the environment, whether it's the animals, I want you to really connect with why you are here. And view all the presentations today and all the opportunities to network and meet one another from that perspective of why you're here. Does that make sense? On a deep level, I want you to know why you are here. So, our first presenter, Meredith Prince. I'm going to introduce you here and read all of this. Meredith came to Missoula for love and then fell in love with Missoula. She first visited the Garden City with her significant other during the summer between her junior and senior years at the University of Illinois. She completed her double major in English and rhetoric a semester early to move to this captivating city. She earned a Master of Arts in Teaching from Pacific University and is taught at a charter school in the mountains of Northern California. Valuable experiences that reinforced her belief that Missoula is home. I'm sure you would all agree. Meredith has served in both board and staff roles in diverse local organizations. There's some of them listed on the screen there. She has a particular passion for local food, is proud of her role in developing the Farm to College program, and has been known to sing and dress up in silly costumes. I've done that once or twice myself. And she does that to educate the importance of supporting local agriculture as a member of the local yokels. Meredith has been the executive director for the Missoula Community Foundation for the last 3 years. Meredith Prince, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
You want the microphone, or you can be able to talk louder?
Can everybody hear me? Yeah? Okay. So we can forego the microphone. Thanks, Steve, for inviting me to come today. Today, our topic is the top 5 do's and don'ts of grant seeking. So we're the Community Foundation, so we grant money to local organizations. We've granted probably about $150,000 over the years, but we also fundraise ourselves. So I write grants and I give money away, so kind of insight from both sides of the fence.
It froze up here. Give me 1 second.
Okay, no problem. I'll just start talking about, I like to always start my presentations with a little talk about what is a community foundation. Well, actually this year marks the 100th anniversary of the first community foundation that started in Cleveland, Ohio in 1914 by a man named Frederick H. Goff, who was an attorney with the Rockefeller family, and he saw the Rockefeller Foundation be created with the massive wealth that one family would control through time, and he got the idea that communities could build those same kinds of assets and that same kind of wealth for themselves that they can use to serve those changing needs of the community. So today the Cleveland Foundation is about the 4th biggest in the United States with $1.9 billion in assets. So just the idea that a community can kind of take care of itself, at least in Cleveland, has certainly come to fruition. And in about the year 2000, people came together and they thought, what would be good for Missoula? Well, let's have a community foundation. So that's kind of how we got started. Our mission is to provide leadership and promote long-term local philanthropy to ensure the present and future vitality of the greater Missoula community. So we're all about helping the community in any way we can. One way is to strengthen local nonprofits through grant making and through other means. Our interest areas are, I like to say, what are the community gems? That's what we focus on the most. Arts and culture, environment, open space, education, kids and youth, community development. But we also do focus on basic human needs. It's just whatever the community needs. So just to kind of give you a little bit of a framework about what we're all about, moving on to the top 5 do's and don'ts of grant seeking. So, number 1 is do your research. you need to make sure that the foundations that you are applying to, that what you do is within their interest areas, because you don't want to waste anybody's time by applying for a grant that they don't fund. So look at their last few years of grants. What have they funded in the past? Do you think that they might want to fund you? Also, you want to identify your suitable funding prospects. So I had a couple of resources, and I can send this presentation out, so even though you're not seeing it, there are links here to resources that you can use. So the Montana Foundation Directory is put on through MSU Billings, and so through their website there are entries for foundations that are active in Montana and also ones that have been known to give to Montana groups. So you might want to visit that website, as well as the Foundation Directory online. So you can go there and you can search by location for free. If you wanted to pay, you could search by interest area. But those are just a couple of resources that you can use to identify those funding prospects and make sure that you're not wasting your time. And don't try to convince a funder to fund you if they wouldn't already be kind of wanting to do that. And also make sure that they fund the kind of project that you're trying to fund. You know, so if they say they don't do capital projects, don't try to shop your capital project to that funder. So just be smart about it. Number 2 is do make personal contact. So pick up the phone, try to set up a meeting with a potential funder. As you all know, I think relationships are the key to fundraising, you know, whether it be with individual donors or with foundations. So, you know, let them know who you are, and if you can, go meet with them. And also, you know, obviously you want to search their website, get all the information you can, but ask if there's any additional information that isn't on the website, so that you can have all the information that you might need. And this step, that making personal contact, I think is one that is often skipped. So don't skip this step, it's important. Number 3 is to follow the directions. And this is really important with a job application, a grant application, anything. You know, you want to make sure that you know who the person is that you're sending the grant to. So address it to the right person. Put it in the correct format. If it says 12-point font, put it in 12-point font. You know, you have to make it really easy for the grant makers to read your application, because you have to think that they are reading a lot of applications. And so if there's a reason, you know, you missed the deadline or you put it in the wrong format, they might toss it aside. Make sure that you answer each question as they ask it. It might be a pain, because you just wrote a grant and you got a really good answer. And this, it's kind of what they're asking, but it's not quite what they're asking. No. Make sure you're customizing every application and answering that question as they ask it, because they have a reason for asking it that way. And I kind of touched on this, so don't give a funder a reason to eliminate you because you didn't follow the directions. And number 4, I believe, yes, is do, edit, and proofread. Now this is kind of going along with the last one, but you know, make sure that you're using proper grammar and spelling. I mean, a spelling mistake, have someone else read it, write it, you know, write a draft, have someone else read it, edit it. It's a little group process. Write and rewrite until your proposal is clear, sincere, and compelling. Again, they're reading a lot of proposals. And don't be boring. So that kind of leads into the next and last do, is do tell a story. I'm sure you all have heard about storytelling in your newsletters and whatnot. Do it in your grants also. It's a great way to liven up your grant proposals and to catch the reader's interest, you know, give them a hook, and to also help to form that emotional connection, because that's why people give. It's because they have an emotional connection. It's the same for funders as well as individual donors. And so the best way to collect stories is by using interviews, interviewing people that have benefited from your services. So some organizations have a easier time of that than others, but you could also interview donors or volunteers if you weren't, if you didn't have people that have benefited from your work. And so there are 3 questions that you should ask every time you interview someone about your nonprofit. One is, what need brought you to our organization? What services did we provide to you? And how did the service improve your life? So those are the basic questions. You can add follow-up questions, but those are the 3 basic ones. And in-person interviewing is better than doing it over the phone, but if you have to, over the phone is fine. You want to let the interview flow like a natural conversation, ask follow-up questions, but don't be pushy, kind of know when to stop. But that interview will give you the fodder to write a great proposal.
Do you want me to put it up now that you're almost done?
Finally
got it started?
Well, sure, why not? That was my last due, but it wasn't my last slide because I did want to announce something to everybody. See, there's our interest areas. Do your research. I spent time finding those little clips. The phone.
And I have a Mac, so I don't run into that blue screen problem, and I ran into it. So.
It's fine. Technology will always fail you. That's another one. Back everything up. See your bullseye. Get your ducks in a row. Tell us, see the hook.
That's important, telling the story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Vitally important.
It's very important. Okay, so this was my last slide, completely unrelated to what I was just talking about, but part of what we do as a community foundation is we educate people on the importance of leaving a legacy. Well, you can't leave a legacy if you don't have a will. So this is our 3rd Willapalooza. We had one in April and one last November. It's coming up on October 22nd from 5 to 7 at MCT. It's free, so I would really ask you guys to encourage your constituents to maybe come out, because who knows, they might, if they're a faithful supporter, they might remember you in their will. So we have the schedule events right there, as you can see. I am actually looking for a speaker who can speak to the power of leaving a legacy, so if any of you have an idea, let me know. And I will be getting some information out about how nonprofits can become part of it, be part of our resource guide, but I won't go into those details, but I just wanted to let you all know about that. And then I have all of my resources so that you can find out even more. So there we go.
And what we'll do... All right, next up we have Fran. Fran is currently in her 18th year as serving as the Executive Director for Watson Children's Shelter, providing safe and nurturing care to Montana children who have experienced physical and sexual abuse, neglect, abandonment, and family crisis. In 2013, Fran was appointed by Governor Bullock to the Montana University System Board of Regents. She recently served as an adjunct faculty teaching nonprofit administration and public service and advanced nonprofit administration in the Davison Honors College at the University of Montana. She earned a BA with a double master's in psychology and sociology from Gonzaga University and a master's of education in early childhood and family studies from MSU Billings, both with honors. She has served in various leadership positions throughout our community. In fact, I even have it on another slide here, a list of all the stuff that she has done. I put it on the screen, but it is huge, ladies and gentlemen.
I needed to do something with my time.
Something with your time, right? Fran has had the honor of leading 2 major capital campaigns for Watson Children's Shelter, conducting 2 children's shelters, or constructing 2 children's shelters, to welcome over 100 children in crisis annually. It's very impressive. She has been recognized as a nonprofit leader and speaker, providing advisement to nonprofits in varying stages of development, and is frequently requested for advisement with capital campaigns, board development, public relations, leadership, strategic planning, effective marketing. Fran and her husband Chris cherish their life full of activities that surround their 12-year-old son and 14-year-old daughter. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning. I've got to tell you, so my 14-year-old daughter is fairly technologically inspired, and she told me that PowerPoints are so 90s, Mom.
Okay, and I just unplugged a projector now when I
No.
tripped over it, so give
You
me 1
did?
second. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, if one thing, if it's all going to go wrong today.
Oh, Lord help
There
us.
we go. All right.
Okay, so anyways, have you ever heard of something called POW tunes? Yeah, so I thought, let's try this out. And
Give him 1 second. Yeah, you should write this down.
it's really cool and it's free.
It's awesome.
So, yeah, POW tunes, and it's free. In fact, now, because I didn't sign up for some Uber account and, pay money, that I can now go on there and...
Wait, do you have to
1
clean
second.
the air filter?
It'll clear in a second.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Send good energy. Send good energy.
Give it a second.
Person, clean the air filter. Yeah.
I don't want to go near it. I want to sit down.
What do we get?
Way to go.
Okay, but let's see how this works. POW. Okay. There we go. All right, so finding a champion for your organization or a superhero. Okay. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the realities of what that's been like for me. And I think that changing your focus is critical, because when we think about finding that champion, we often look at how we want to raise money. And I think that's really important. However, as you know, the reality is that we're looking to provide someone the opportunity to invest in something they care about. So let's think about that. You walk into a room, and I'm thinking, Barb Cowan, can I get some money for Watson's? Well, fortunately, I've got some history with you, so you'd probably give me some cash. But I know you have a lot of different things that you're invested in, and as much as I want you to support my organization, I also want you to continue to support the organizations that are close to your heart. And so I really want to invest in more of a relationship. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And I think that when people think about the word fundraising, it kind of comes off as with a kind of a dirty taste in your mouth sometimes. And the reality is that what you are all doing, what we're all doing, is such a beautiful thing. And we need to realize that there are people out there that have that interest in that investment, but we need to be able to uncover that and develop that relationship. So, are we looking to raise money, or are we looking to provide someone with the opportunity to invest in something they care about? And which one's going to stick around longer? The one who's invested, right? Okay, these are real obvious things, but I want you to come away with, after this presentation, just some things to think about. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions throughout this POW tunes. Okay, so where do you find your superhero? It's really interesting, and I think that a lot of organizations sort of get into a funk, if I may say that. That it's our tendency to surround ourselves with the people who are comfortable with us, right? To surround ourselves with the people who really are like-minded, that like to talk about the same books we like to read, who like to talk about social work and how hard it is every day and the things that we like to do. But is that where you're going to find your champion for your organization? So, where do you find your superhero, your champion? Well, where do you spend your time? It's an important question. And I'm going to ask you that because, forget that this one popped up. When I was teaching in the nonprofit administration class, I asked my class, well, where do you think I spend my time? And they said, oh, well, at the shelter, maybe in social work meetings, with other folks? I said, absolutely I do. But where do I spend a good chunk of my time? At home? Oh God, I wish I could. The reality is I'm at Rotary. Why would I be at Rotary? Why would I be at First Interstate Bank? Why would I be at Leadership Missoula? How is that going to further my organization? And I'm not saying that that's the answer for all of you, but the reality is those are the places where you're going to step a little outside of your comfort zone. What are you going to talk about to a person who is an attorney? Well, maybe I don't know what to talk about. But hey, maybe they're going to want to talk about estate planning. And maybe at Leadership Missoula, I'm going to meet somebody, I'm going to be exposed to a whole variety of different people who I would never come in contact with. And that's what service organizations do. In addition to allowing those service organizations the opportunity for me to get involved and do something meaningful for those organizations. I'm not involved with Rotary because I want to network. I believe in what Rotary does. I invest personally, financially, and with my time because I believe in it. But I'll bet you what I have also seen is that the folks in my club have realized that if I'm going to commit to something, I'm going to do it and I'm going to follow through. And what does that say about my personal brand? Okay. So we'll get back to that. What's the difference between selling your organization? And by the way, as nonprofits, we love to talk about our organization. In fact, so much that we need to be quiet. So many times we're trying to sell what we're doing as opposed to engaging somebody about our organization. Okay? What's the difference? How do you engage somebody? Ask questions about them, about their interests. Okay, moving on. What touches your heart about your organization? And you touched on this, Meredith, and so did you, Steve. So, what is really exciting to you, and can you share that? So when somebody does want to hear about your organization, what is it? You know, I just hired a new development director, and she said, but Fran, there's no way that I can talk about this organization like you can. You've done it for 15 years, or 18, 20 years. Anyways, how do I do that? And I said, did that matter to you the other day? And she said, what? And I said, those 3 kids who came in, they were so excited that they were going to have the opportunity for the first time to lay their head on a pillow and to have a bath. And it had been who knows how long. And they were so excited to have a chance for a meal and not have to worry about that. Did that touch your heart? And of course the tears welled up in her eyes, and I said, what a beautiful thing that we have the opportunity to do here. Does that touch your heart? So what I always think about before I'm going to share about my organization is that I have to remember what it is that touches my heart. What is it that moves me? Why do I do what I do every day? And can I share that in 4 minutes or less? How many times have you had a nonprofit speaker get up there and talk to the point where it's all going over your head? And what did you remember? Did you remember what that came from their heart, or was it the statistics? It's okay to throw in those stats, but really it's the authenticity that they share that people remember. It's how you make them feel. Okay. So what's intriguing to your superhero? And that goes back to the other question. And how do you know that? You're right, Meredith. Do you ask questions? Do you listen and learn? Do you really care? And the reality is that if you're not asking the questions about, so what is of interest to you? And let me just throw back an example from when I, hey, Pow Tunes, Pow. I'm going to tell my daughter, hey. So The reality is that I'll never forget literally 17 years ago when I was hired, and candidly, Watson Children's Shelter, which was back then Watson's Receiving Home and also known as Extended Family Services, I mean, crazy names. Nobody really knew we were even on the map. I mean, Barb, you did. But, and thank you for that. But I will tell you, oh, and Peggy, was Peggy Seal here? I saw her earlier. Anyways, the reality is that there weren't a lot of people who knew we existed and what we were going to do. And I remember they said, by the way, we hired you and we need to build a brand new shelter. And if it's not completed within the next 2 years, then our program's going to close and we have nowhere to go. Okay, no pressure, because I've got a master's degree. Okay, so what's amazing is that I reached out to amazing people, and I've always, truly my success is surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me and amazing people who have those strengths. But I remember, back to this point, building trust and a variety of interactions. I called a woman named Rosemary Gallagher. Well, for those of you who know the Gallagher Business Building and all of the history that the Gallaghers have invested so much into this community, I'll never forget calling Rosemary, and she says, and I said, hi, you know, I'm Fran Moronic, at the time Albrecht, and she says, oh honey, now I don't have any more money, I've given my money away. And I said, oh Mrs. Gallagher, I said, I am not calling for money. I just needed to introduce myself, and I needed to share with you that I'm the new executive director. And I understand that you have a history with our organization. And I just wanted to let you know who I am, what we're doing, and see what you think about it. Well, sure enough, she had a lot of opinions about it, and nobody had ever asked her. And so, sure enough, many of you have heard this. What happens when you ask for money? What do you get? Advice. You get advice. What happens when you would ask for advice? You don't really get money right away. Okay. This went all the way back to the beginning. Okay, so we're going to move through this quickly. So the reality is that after a while you're going to get that input, you're going to get that feedback. What I will tell you about Rosemary Gallagher as an example is that it took a variety of interactions. So this is going to speed through a variety of what I've already gone through. So play with me here, little pow tunes. What was amazing about Rosemary is that after we talked a couple of different times, and literally it was about 6 months, and we had talked about different things. She says, you know, I know that they wanted to do all this. I really think that you don't need this huge conference room. You need bigger play areas for the kids. I think that you need this. I think you need that. And so what she ended up doing was she called me 6 months later and she said, Fran, I've been talking to people about you. I said, wow, what'd they say? And she said, I'm very proud of you. And you're going to get that shelter built. And I'm going to give you $100,000. And the reality is that I had never asked her for a dime. But it had taken 6 months. Usually it takes a lot longer than that, granted. But it was a lot of interactions, and it was authenticity. And so when people say, you're a great fundraiser, I say, well, that's very kind of you to say, but I really don't fundraise. What I do is I share authentically what inspires me, and I give people the opportunity to invest in my organization. Okay? Now, with that means getting out there and getting to know a variety of people. So, what opportunities do you provide to engage that superhero? Well, maybe that is making that call. Maybe that is talking to them. Maybe that is thinking about having them out for lunch. Maybe that is inviting them to an event where they will be inspired. Maybe it's a follow-up letter. So, one other thing I want to talk about is if somebody is going to give you, if somebody is going to, what is your personal brand? If someone decided to make a gift to your organization, how would they feel about handing it to you? Okay? Are you reliable? Are you authentic? Are you trustworthy? Why does that matter? Do people give to organizations? They give to people. They give to people who deeply care about those organizations. Rosemary had to believe that I was going to lead the organization. I don't want it to be about me. In the end, it has to be about the kids. It has to be about everything we do for those kids. But they have to give it to a person they feel comfortable with. So remember that. Remember that wherever you go, that you are representing that organization. So, your brand is your promise. What are you promising? What is your organization's brand? Is it credible? Is it well known? Is it well managed? And why does that matter to your superhero? What kind of an organization do they want to give to? So think about this. If a Patagonia jacket was next to a no-name jacket on a sale rack and the Patagonia jacket was $5 more, which one would you buy? Why? Reputation. It's quality. It's better quality. If a letter from your organization arrived at the same time, at the same time, oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
I'll try to get you back to where you were.
Okay. At the same time, again, what is it? If somebody going to contribute to your organization, how are they going to make that decision? So you have to think about your branding. You have to think about that promise. You have to think about, are you delivering that message? And that might mean that from a marketing perspective, you need to invest more time. Do you have that person that is representing your organization in the community that somebody can connect with? If I am sitting at a random meeting and we're talking about business development, or we're talking about sports, or we're talking about anything, how do they know how to connect with my organization if they want to give to a person? And that's why I think that sometimes we get a little bit wrapped up as leaders behind our desks, within our comfort zones. We don't expand ourselves to engage with other people, because the reality is that they're going to give to that person. They need to be able to connect with your organization. And I'll never forget, when I was in Leadership Missoula many eons ago, I met a guy named Charlie. Charlie happened to work for back in the day, Montana Power Company. Well, I thought Charlie was a nice enough guy. What was interesting is we were also in the middle of building our new shelter. And I met with the architect, and he said, well, I've got some bad news. Our site utility setup in order to construct the new building, we originally had it set up for $5,500, and now it's up to $17,000. And he said, so I'm sorry, but you're going to have to figure out how to cut that out of your budget, how you're going to work with that. And I said, well, why can't don't we have power out here? You know, because I know so much about site utilities setup. And he said, well, it's just the way it is. It has to be rerouted. And I said, well, I'm going to call my friend Charlie at Montana Power and see how that works. What if he knows somebody in the company I could talk to, and figure out why this went up so much. And so sure enough, I called Charlie, and he says, you know, I'm in charge of that whole department. I said, oh gosh, I didn't know you were such a big deal. Sure enough, Charlie said, let me take a look at this. I haven't looked at your project yet. He called back, and my architect called me and said, Fran, what did you do? And I said, I don't know, I just asked Charlie about this. And he said, I didn't know you knew Charlie. And I said, yeah, we got to know each other in Leadership Missoula. Great guy. He said, now your cost is $3,200 instead of the original $5,500, which was supposed to go to $17,000. So what was the investment in Leadership Missoula? I mean, that was one of the first things I've learned. And again, you need to be confident in the message that you're sending out there, and have the ability to express what it is about your organization that you are proud about. And then let me see where I am. Okay, so ultimately, you know, when you talk about a letter, people think that the easy way is for that magic bullet. Get that letter in the hands of the donor. But the reality is, unless you have cultivated and developed that relationship, why do we think that we're just going to get that money back with that easy letter. That's easy, right? But the letter should be probably in 1 year the 5th or 10th touch point that they've had from you. Okay. Next. It'll go on. Come on, Powtoons. Okay. So finding your champion is easier than you think. With authentic passion, the willingness to listen and engage, asking for advice. What else did I say there? Providing a variety of opportunities. Yeah, but
Let me go back.
yeah, but I had it really cool at the end. You'll find, this is really important, you'll find your superhero in no time. Cartoons.
Okay, I'm gonna have to explore that Powtoons a lot. That's pretty cool.
It is cool, but clearly I am not very savvy.
I like it though. That's awesome.
It is cool. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to practice that in front of you. Can't wait to tell my 14-year-old.
Awesome. Thank you, Fran. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, before I introduce Eric, let me share a few things about why I'm here. Most of my adult life, I've been in law enforcement. I spent 8 years as a police officer in Kansas City, Missouri. I spent 3 years working with the Department of Public Safety and as a firefighter and EMT with the Yellowstone Club down by Big Sky. I'm sure you guys have seen that in the news. And I spent 7 years in jail here as a juvenile detention officer. I always like to put a little pause there. People are like, you spent 7 years in jail? So why am I here and why am I doing what I'm doing? It's because as a child, in high school, as an adult, as a police officer, I saw tragedy related to substance abuse all the time, all too often. And it only took once for me to watch a lifeless young person being pulled out of a car to go, hey, I need to do something about this. I need to make a difference. I need to try to prevent this a little bit more. 13 months ago, I spent 3 days in the hospital in Washington, D.C. next to my sister, and I watched her die of alcoholism. It's important to me. Together, all of us working together, we can make a difference for your why, for the reason why you're here. We can do this. That's why I asked and invited all of you here today, is because together we're a lot more powerful than we are individually. Does that make sense? So this next guy that I'm going to bring up here, Eric Needles, I first met him when he moved into our building when we were at Higgins Plaza. Now, as a police officer, one of the things that I studied most was sales. And when I would have a new police officer sitting next to me and I'm training them, I would often ask them, I'm like, hey, have you ever thought about being in sales before? And what do you think they said? They were like, yeah, that's why I'm wearing a uniform. Why on earth would I want to be a salesperson? And I said, well, I find that interesting because I think you're in the most important sales position of your life. Because there's going to be a moment when you're going to have a guy the size of Godzilla or King Kong standing in front of you, and you're going to tell him, sir, you are under arrest. Please turn around and put your hands behind your back. And this guy's going to look at you and laugh and go, no, I'm not. And you're not big enough to do it. And I'm like, well, you know what? You're in a sales moment right there. And you have about 30 seconds to try to generate voluntary compliance, cooperation, and collaboration to get this guy to turn around and put his hands behind his back the whole time believing it was his idea to do so. That's sales, is it not? Right? You're not trying to get a commission. You're not trying to sell a product.
But you have people that are vitally important in your life that need you to come home. And so you have to make that sale. Ultimately, he could always grab the radio, call a bunch of other people that are dressed like him. A lot of force is going to be used. We'll make the sale one way or the other in that situation, but we want to try to avoid that at all costs. So when I met this guy, it took about 30 seconds for me to go, yeah, he's saying all the right things. And he's saying all the right things for all the right reasons. And I would love to find out his why for what he does. And I truly believe it's to help others reach the potential that is within them. It is amazing. The skills that this guy has is phenomenal. So let me read a little bit about Eric, and I'll introduce him, and I'll get him up here, and then we'll get on with the show. Eric Needles brings over 20 years of real-world sales, management, and training experience to his clients. Working with business owners, principals, sales managers, salespeople, and non-selling professionals, Eric's helped them develop the actions, mindsets, and techniques to reach their full potential in sales. During his career in sales, Eric trained, coached, and managed sales teams in radio advertising, insurance, and as a bank vice president. In fact, Eric still holds the record for local direct sales in radio in Chicago. After joining the top franchise in the world's largest sales and sales management training organizations, Eric expanded his base in sales and sales management training to hundreds of business lines. Today, Eric brings that knowledge and experience to Western Montana with his own company, Continental Sales. I would also like to thank Eric for helping sponsor this connection and the last one we had. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have been able to hold it in such a nice place. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Needles, thank you very much. I'm going to put this microphone on you.
Hands behind the back.
Sir, don't move.
All right, okay.
You got a pocket to put that in?
Sure, right in there is good.
There you go.
Well, good morning, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. And everybody did such a great job today with the speaking friend of Meredith. Very good work. They said,
You want the radio?
yeah, perfect. And if you could turn on the light, and we'll kill this guy here. And Steve said, do you need a PowerPoint? And I said, I brought mine, right? I tell you, I have to take responsibility for this. If I'm even in a room with one of these machines, they won't work.
I understand what you're saying.
So that's my fault. Yes, thank you. So everybody knows who I am a little bit. Let me ask you this. How many people woke up today saying that they wanted to be a salesperson? All right, I get that. In fact, most salespeople that I work with wake up in the morning and say, I don't want to be a salesperson. I get that. In fact, if you go to a big sales training event, you know, where a lot of salespeople are around, and you get there a little bit early and they're all sitting around drinking coffee, it's like you're at an AA meeting. They're like, oh, do you ever think you'd be here, you know, in sales? Oh, no, I don't know how my life went so bad. So I get that. And here's one of the things that I want to at least change our paradigm a little bit here about sales. And sales is not, I think, what gets portrayed on TV, like the Herb Tarlick, you know, from WKRP in Cincinnati. Or who was the guy from Groundhog Day? You know, Bill Murray ended up punching him out, you know. But I think when you think about sales, that's what people picture in their mind. But for people who are real professionals in sales, real professionals in any kind of business driving revenue, what you'll find is that's not who they are. And certainly not the people that I work with. They're not that way either. So what I'd like to do today is actually, does anybody have a phone that takes time, like has a timer on it, something like that? Handy. If you would, because I want to keep it to 15 minutes, would you let me know when my 13 minutes is over and I have just 2 minutes left? I want to keep everybody on time today. But what I'd like to do is find out some issues that you have and see if we can't give you a couple of tips for those. Would that be fun? Fair? Walk out with something you can use? So just, we'll go around the table. I tell you what, let's take 1 minute, and at your table, discuss with the members there, what are some objects that you run into when it comes to fundraising, when it comes to getting in front of people who have the money, when it comes to getting people to give you that money. So just take 1 minute at your table and with your people there, and we'll pick a scribe here in just a second. Thanks. The person at the table should be the person who's been in Montana the longest. That'll be who takes the notes. All right, let's try and get some of these on the board here. I know you could probably go all day long with all the problems and challenges that you run into. I get that. But if we could, can we start in the back? Steve, the table behind you. Who has been in Montana the longest at that table?
You want to grab the microphone, Eric, there?
Okay, who's been in Montana the longest? Montana the longest.
58 years. She wins.
You win.
Okay, great. So you got volunteered. Who, give us one challenge that you run into that your table came up with.
We really didn't get into that.
Okay. That's all right, I get that.
We started talking about it is for fundraising and how you go about it. We didn't get into a challenge yet.
Oh, okay, all right. Does anybody else have one? Yeah, right here.
We just barely got to it. We talked about prevention is a really hard sell because people often don't understand exactly what prevention is or means.
Okay, so they don't understand when you're talking about what you do, they don't really get it right off the bat.
It's a little abstract sometimes.
Okay, I get that. Who else, and thank you, who else has another issue? Yeah.
A community the size of Missoula, that we support each other, but we can be in competition for the same money, and how do we sell ourselves to each other in a way that doesn't, affront our...
Right, you don't want to cannibalize everything, but still you got to go out and fundraise. I get that. Who else has another? Over here.
We talked about being tax funded already and needing more funds on top of that. So the perception that people have that, well, you're government or you're tax funded anyway, so why do you need more money?
You don't need that money. Right, I get that. Who else has another here? Over here.
So we came up with three things.
Okay.
One of us says that when she goes to talk to folks, they're always too busy.
Too busy. Got it. Okay. And what else? You said you had three?
To break out of our own circle to talk to folks in other groups, say other professionals.
So a new circle. Okay. All right. And your last one?
Just some of us have a hard time asking for anything. There's kind of a contracted feeling that we often get when we're in a position of needing something.
Difficult to ask. I get that. Anybody else have any of those? Yeah, okay. Pretty common. And what's interesting is I get that whether it's people in nonprofits or people who are in a sales position. It's all the same stuff. And one of the things that you have to realize is that since 2008, this is what I noticed, because I've been selling for a while. Before 2008, I noticed things were one way. Today, they're different. After that last hiccup in the economy, well, before that, let's say this is an org chart. Here's the guy at the top, right? When things are going well, when they have numbers to hit, and they're going to hit those numbers easily, probably surpass them, guys at the top do a lot of what? Golfing, right? They're doing okay because business is going well. I mean, that's their job. Make sure business is going well. Okay, great. See ya. They're out. And what they would do prior to 2008 is they would delegate. Okay, here's the budgets, and you're going to take care of this, and you're going to take care of that. And so they'd flow right down to here. Now, this guy has some control. In fact, these two are probably running the organization, right? So what do? They delegate down to here. You're going to take care of this, and you're going to take care of this, okay? Whether in sales or fundraising, whatever it is. If you were successful before 2008, good chance that you were working with people down at this level because they had money, they had the power to make decisions, you could get to them, and over the years you developed a way to do that. After 2008, everything shifted back up to the top. I know organizations, large organizations, they don't order paper clips unless this guy says so. Here's the problem. People who are good at fundraising, getting money, making sales at this level, that's one skill set. You can maybe call that guy, invite him out to coffee. You might meet him at events and those type of things. Get to know them, they get to know you, all the things that our previous speakers talked about that are good to do, and those are great things to do. Problem is, he doesn't make that decision anymore. Is he ever going to tell you that? Nobody ever shows up and says, you know what, I don't have any authority anymore, I don't have any power anymore. You know, people don't do that. So what does it sound like? And you got to make sure that you're listening for this. Sounds good. They always butter you up. They give you what we call happy years, right? Happy years. Write this down. If there's anything that'll kill you big time, it's happy years. Because they'll tell you, we love your organization. We love you. We love your presentation. You're so nice and pleasant to talk to. And thank you for the concert tickets and the dinners, right? We love that. But we've decided, like they had a part of it, right? We've decided that this year we don't have anything in the budget for it. But what I'm going to do is keep your material on file, and then if something opens up, or maybe next year, we'll take another look at it. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Yeah, right. Because here's the problem, here's a rule, write this down. Never take a no from someone who can't say yes. Ooh, right? So, here's the other obstacle. This conversation, the techniques, the skill set you have to talk to this person is different from this one. Do you think I can call up Jeff Bezos at Amazon and ask him out to coffee? You know, probably not going to happen. He works in a different sphere. He works at a different level. And the way he networks, the way he communicates, the way he makes decisions is different from the people that were down here. And so many of us have a great skill set down here, but after 2008, we never picked up this skill set here. You can learn it, just like you learn this, just like you learn anything. But that's one of the biggest challenges that I find, is that people aren't talking to the right decision maker. So make sure you got the right decision maker. One of the other things that I run into a lot is identifying how the person that you're meeting with makes a decision. One of the things that all my people do when I work with them is we get them tested. Not like tested, but like we want to see what their personality profile is, and we want to see how they make decisions. And once you understand how you make decisions, you realize that's how you sell. That's how you fundraise. You fundraise in a way that you buy. So if you go to buy a car, and the way you do it is you look at a lot of different cars, and you go visit 5, 10 different dealerships, and you take a month and you go home and you make a spreadsheet and you put all the pros and cons and you research it online and you do all those things. That when you're in front of somebody and they say, this looks good, but we're going to have to think it over, you say, yeah, I'd do the same thing. This is called a non-supportive buy cycle. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and just buy a car without thinking about it, but what we find is that people make decisions in different ways. Some people just go out, see a car that they like, they buy it, and they're done. You need to know the person that I'm in front of, which one are they? Because if I'm in front of somebody, and if you use DISC, which is a big one that we use, and it has 4 different profiles. D is a decider. Those are people who make quick decisions. I's are what I call social butterflies. They could have a conversation, and you wouldn't even need to be there, right? So there's conversationalists. S's are steady relators, and they're people who just like doing the same. They don't like change. They keep things doing the same. And then your C is that calculator, like an accountant and number crunchers and CPAs and architects, those type of things. Now here's the thing. They all make decisions differently. And what you need to know is how to read those types of people and know when I'm in front of a D, a decider who makes quick decisions, and he says, oh, this sounds good, I got to think it over. He just got blown off. He never has to think things over. He can make a decision like that and usually does. So that's how you're in trouble. But if I'm in front of a C, one of those guys who probably has a spreadsheet for every decision that he makes, well then, yeah, he does have to think it over, and I have to make sure that my presentation was focused that way. Everybody on board with that? Okay, so S is a steady relator. Steady relator, right. One other thing that I'll talk about, and this is something, and DISC is something that you can look up online and you can find out how to do it and read all about it. It's a great thing to know. I would suggest everybody get themselves tested and then learn about how DISC works. Another thing that I see people get into, especially when they're fundraising. This goes back into the 1960s. They had something called transactional analysis. Anybody ever hear of that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure, master's degrees, of course, yeah. Who am I? She could probably teach it, right? So here's the thing. What transactional analysis said is there's 3 different roles that people play, right? They can play the parent role, the adult role, and the child role. So we all know what a parent is, right? Parent's the person in charge. We all know what a child is, right? The child is the one that's really in charge. No, I'm kidding. In my house it is, unfortunately. So what they found is they kind of break it up into 2 roles. There's a critical parent. That's the one you see at the ballpark, and the kid strikes out, and they're yelling, "What are you doing? How can you strike out like that? We've been working." You know, it's like, ugh. But that's a critical parent. Then you have a nurturing parent, which is the one that I try to be every opportunity I get. I'm not 100%, unfortunately. But if my 4-year-old drops the glass of milk, and I'm saying, accidents happen. Remember, we got to hold it 2 hands. Let's get a towel. Let's clean it up. You know, nurturing parent, nurturing along. Got to take patience, right? So that's the 2 roles that people will play. The other roles that they can play down here is the child role. And the child, you could have a rebel, right? Everybody knows a rebellious kid. Smoking's bad for you. Don't smoke. What's the first thing he's going to do? He's going to smoke, right? And then you have the adaptive child. They just want to please you, right? And I know I'm talking to a room of people who work with kids. You probably know all about this. What's that? 13 minutes. Thank you. And then the adult is that kind of adult. What time is it? It's 5 o'clock. There's not really a lot of motion in it. Here's the problem that people run into. Here's the problem that people run into. Is you find yourself in this parent-child relationship where the CEO of a company that you want to get money out of is the parent, and you're playing the adaptive child. And they'll quickly go to critical parent, and they'll say, "Jump," and you're supposed to say, "How high?" Right? Who's in control there? They are. Really tough to have a great conversation with somebody, and as you said, find out what's their really emotional driver. Hard to do that when they see you in that parent-child relationship. So one of the first things that you need to do is plant your feet, stand your ground, don't wimp from the very beginning. See yourself as an equal. I don't care if it's Jeff Bezos, heads Amazon, no big deal. You got to feel like you belong there. Because if you don't, they're going to pick up on it, and they'll put you right down in here, and they'll say, "Got no time for it today. You know, I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. We don't have any money this year." Those are all the things that you're going to hear right off the bat because they don't even see you in the same category. You got to work on that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, all right. So, with just 2 minutes left, what I want to do here today is tell you a couple of things. One is, if you would all get out your business card. And if you don't have a business card, that's okay. Get out a piece of paper. On the back of it, I want you to put a Y, a TIO, and an N, if you would, please. While you're doing that, I'll let you know that the Department of Labor, Montana's Department of Labor, has a program called the Incumbent Worker Program. Anybody know about that? Yeah, nobody knows about it. That's why all the money is still sitting there. They've got grants that they will pay for people who are incumbents. That means people already working to get trained. And so Steve had asked me about it, and we talked about it, and I said, here's one of the things that I can do is I can help put together a fundraising program, you know, sales training, great, I understand, but this will just be focused on fundraising, and you can use that grant money if you apply for it and get it to pay for the whole thing. So it won't be any money out of your budget, but that's a way to do it. So I'm just letting you know about that. If that's something that you'd be interested in finding out how we could put that together for your organization, then circle Y. I'll follow up with you and share how to do it. If you're not interested, that's okay. Circle no. Nobody's going to bug you. Everybody cross out TIO. That stands for think it over. Right? We're not taking those anymore. Now, here's what we'll do with the cards. If you'll pass them all up, what I'll do is I'll do a quick drawing, and I'll pick out a card. The winner of that card, I'll come into your organization. I'll do a free 90-minute workshop on how to come up with a killer elevator speech. How to come up with that 30-second thing that hits people right between the eyes and makes them grab you by the shirt collar and say, you can't leave till I have an appointment with you. Would that be nice? Yeah. All right, so let's pass them forward.
Okay, again, that information that he was talking about, that incumbent training, we'll put information on the MissoulaForum.org website. Also, you can visit his website, which is Continental Sales Training. He's got a little spot on there about it too. I called and talked to the lady. I can't remember what her name was. Was it Trish or something like that?
Something.
Anyway, it looks like a really good opportunity for all of us to get training, up to $2,000. It's pretty amazing. So it's good. So check out the information on either one of our websites. I'll get that up hopefully within the next week, and then we'll work on that. Does that make sense? All right, we'll try to get that information out. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm picking a card.
Whatever,
Any
card, paper, anything.
There you go.
This is, what's that say?
This is Robin. Where are you, Robin? Robin, wait right there.
Everybody, big hand for Robin. All right,
Simply speaking.
Thank you for inviting me out. Go make some money.
All right, thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to open it up for networking. Was that, first of all, was that pretty good? Did they give us some good information?
Yes.
Can you use that information to help your why? To make a difference? I hope so. I hope so, because that's why we're here, to help get that information out. I wish I had. That's great. That's right. Yes, absolutely.